What if I told you the most powerful thing you can do is to do nothing at all? That in a world screaming at you to act, to connect, to consume, your greatest strength is found in the pause. We've been taught that our value comes from what we contribute, what we say, who we are with. But what if the deepest truth of who you are is only revealed when all of that falls away? This isn't about emptiness. This is about coming home to your own power. The practice we're talking about, abstinence, isn't a punishment. It's an upgrade. Most people hear that word and think of lack, of what's forbidden. They see an empty field. But for those who understand true self-possession, abstinence is not an empty field. It is the fertile ground where you plant the seeds of who you are becoming. It is not about stopping life. It is about reclaiming the energy that fuels your life. Every thought you don't chase, every impulse you don't act on, every desire you don't immediately gratify, that energy doesn't just vanish. It turns inward. It becomes a resource. And with that resource, you start to rebuild yourself from the inside out. The frantic noise in your head begins to quiet. The emotional static clears. And for the first time, you might hear a voice that has been drowned out for years, your own. In ancient traditions, life force, or what some call Q, is not something to be squandered. It is a currency. What you save in one area, you can invest in another. When we consciously abstain, not from a place of guilt, but from a place of wisdom, we stop the constant leaks of our energy. And where does this conserved energy go? It fortifies the very core of your being, your awareness, your stability, your presence. Abstinence is the forge where your willpower is tempered into steel. Imagine your attention is like water in a leaky bucket, constantly dripping out through a dozen holes. Social media, mindless scrolling, anxieties about the future, replaying the past. This is the state most of us live in, a constant low-grade drain. But what happens when you begin to patch those holes? The water level rises. Suddenly, you have a reservoir of focus, of power. That is what happens to your desire. When you stop scattering it, it concentrates. And concentrated desire doesn't just disappear, it transforms into unshakable resolve. I once knew an entrepreneur, a man in his early 40s, who had built his entire identity on being busy. He was always launching a new project, attending another networking event, chasing the next big win. His life was a blur of motion. He confessed to me once during a moment of burnout, "I feel like a ghost. I'm everywhere and nowhere. I don't know what I actually want, I just know how to keep moving." He decided to try something radical. For 6 months, he took a success fast. No new ventures, no networking, no chasing validation online. He just focused on the one business he already had and went home at 5 p.m. He said the first month was agonizing. The silence was deafening. He felt his identity crumbling. But then, a shift. He started noticing the taste of his food. He started having real conversations with his family. He began to hear not the buzzing of the market, but the quiet hum of his own intuition. That period didn't make him less successful. It made him solid. He told me, "I now act from a place of fullness, not from a place of fear." And that has changed the entire game. This is the essence of abstinence as a tool for reclaiming power. You are not depriving your life, you are fortifying your spirit. Modern neuroscience is catching up to this ancient wisdom. Habits, especially those tied to emotional or physical gratification, carve deep grooves in our brain's reward circuitry. When we constantly seek external rewards, our brain learns to crave that stimulation. But when you practice abstinence, you give the brain a chance to reset. This is neuroplasticity in action, the brain's incredible ability to remold itself. By creating space, you allow the dopamine-driven pathways that fuel craving and impulsivity to calm down. The result? Sharper focus, better impulse control, and a profound sense of inner stability. What ancient masters discovered through deep introspection, science is now validating with brain scans. And why does this matter so deeply in our relationships? Because a calm nervous system is the bedrock of true connection. Your presence, your state of being, is the greatest gift you can offer another person. Not your words, not your achievements, not even your affection, but your grounded presence. When you are at peace within yourself, your partner can feel safe to be themselves with you. When you don't need them to make you feel whole, you can meet them as an equal. In this light, abstinence is not an act of pushing away, it is an act of refinement. It is the choice to cultivate your inner world before you invite someone else in. And when you do that, you become magnetic, not in a cheap manipulative way, but in the way that a calm, deep lake draws you to its shore, still powerful and self-contained. There's a story of a martial arts student who was obsessed with an opponent who had defeated him. His every thought was consumed by revenge. His master saw his training suffer. He took the student to a still pond. "Look into the water," the master said. "What do you see?" The student replied, "My own reflection, clear as day." The master then threw a handful of pebbles into the pond. The surface exploded into ripples. "And now?" I see nothing but chaos, the student said. The master waited patiently. As the water stilled, the reflection returned. Your mind is the water, he said. Your obsession is the pebbles. Abstinence is not about ignoring your opponent. It is about letting the water of your mind become so still that you can see your own strategy clearly. Only then can you know if your next move comes from strength or from rage. The wisdom here is universal. Without inner quiet, we are reactive. We don't know our own motivations, and our relationships become a reflection of our inner turmoil. When the body and mind are in constant motion, chasing, wanting, reacting, there is no space for your soul's intelligence to emerge. But when we choose stillness, when we discipline our impulses with wisdom, not with force, something incredible unfolds. Your soul starts to communicate, not in words but in feelings, in gut level knowing, in intuition. You start to sense when a situation feels off, even if it looks right. You start to feel the truth behind someone's words. This isn't supernatural. It is heightened sensitivity. And sensitivity is not a weakness, it is a form of deep intelligence. It allows you to navigate the world with grace, to feel when a friend is struggling before they say a word, to know when to push and when to yield. This level of connection is only possible when you are not lost in your own internal noise. Think of a woman I knew in her late 30s, stuck in a pattern of attracting emotionally unavailable partners. She felt drained, constantly trying to earn love. She decided to take a 3-month sabbatical from dating and all romantic thoughts. No apps, no hopeful texting, no what ifs. She poured that energy back into herself. She started painting again, a passion she had abandoned years ago. She took long walks in nature, just listening. At first, the loneliness felt like a physical ache. But slowly, she recognized that what she missed wasn't a person, it was the distraction from her own deep-seated belief that she wasn't enough on her own. In that quiet, her confidence returned, not loud and performative, but quiet and solid. She wrote to me, I always thought I needed someone to see me. I've realized I just needed to see myself. This is the alchemy of abstinence. When you stop the external search, what you find is not nothingness, it is yourself. In psychology, we call this interoception, the ability to feel your own internal state. Practicing mindful abstinence sharpens this sense. You become more aware of your breath, your heart rate, the subtle shifts in your energy. And this awareness is the key to emotional self-regulation. You start to catch anxiety as a flutter in your stomach before it becomes a panic attack. You notice the tightening in your jaw before you say something you'll regret. You learn to respond to life instead of just reacting to it. In this way, abstinence is a form of deep self-care. It's like an emotional fast. Just as we give our digestive system a rest, we give our heart and nervous system space to heal, to process old grief, release toxic attachments and break unconscious cycles. And that space is not a void. It's a sanctuary. It's the workshop where you recalibrate your inner compass. In many Eastern healing arts, the kidneys are considered the storehouse of our core vitality. Our willpower, chronic indulgence and scattered energy are said to deplete this core battery, but periods of conscious rest and abstinence replenish it. Your will becomes strong again, and from that renewed strength comes clarity, not just about what you want in a partner, but about who you are and what you're here to do. So what does this look like in your real life? It means when you feel that frantic need for someone's text to feel okay, you pause. When you find yourself endlessly scrolling, seeking a hit of connection to numb your loneliness, you pause. When your mind starts spinning stories of fear, what if they leave me? What if I'm not good enough? You pause, not to beat yourself up, but to get curious, to listen, because beneath that frantic energy is a deeper, quieter need that no one outside of you can ever fill. When your body is still, your soul finally gets a chance to speak. It whispers, you are already complete. Your worth is not up for negotiation. You are the one who decides where your energy goes. You can love someone deeply without losing your own center. This is the moment abstinence becomes liberation. Not freedom from other people, but freedom from your dependency on them. It creates the fertile ground where love can finally grow, not as a desperate grasp, but as a generous offering. As we journey from this space of reclaimed energy, a new capacity blossoms presence. The stillness of the body unlocks the power of the soul. You discover that silence isn't the absence of anything, it's the amplification of everything. To live in presence is not to retreat from the world, but to meet it head-on, with your full being, without the filters of past pain or future anxiety. Presence is the simple, profound art of being fully where you are. And it's not just for meditators on a mountaintop. It's the most critical skill in any relationship, in any meaningful conversation, in any moment where one human heart is trying to truly connect with another. Presence is not a technique, it's a frequency. When someone is truly present with you, you feel it in your bones. Their gaze is steady, their energy is calm, their nervous system isn't a threat but an invitation. In their presence, you don't feel evaluated or overlooked, you feel seen. And this isn't magic, it's biology. Your nervous system is constantly, subconsciously scanning your environment for cues of safety or danger. It's a process called neuroception. The moment you are near someone, your body knows whether to relax or to brace itself. When you are present, your own nervous system is regulated. Your breathing is deep, your posture is relaxed but alert. This state sends out an invisible signal to others. It's safe here, you can be you. In relationships, this is the glue that holds trust together. It's not how smart your words are, but how regulated your system is. It is this feeling of embodied safety that allows another person to be vulnerable, to be honest, to be real. I remember a story from a family therapist about a father and his teenage son who were constantly at odds. The son said, "He doesn't listen. He's always just waiting to give me a lecture." The father insisted, "I do listen. I'm trying to help." The therapist suggested an exercise. For 5 minutes, she said, "I want you to sit across from each other. No talking, father. Your only job is to breathe and try to feel what it's like to be your son. Son, your only job is to notice." At first, it was awkward, but then the father's shoulders dropped. He stopped looking angry and just looked. The son, in turn, stopped looking defiant and started looking vulnerable. When the 5 minutes were up, the therapist asked the son what he felt. He said quietly, "For the first time, I felt like he was actually with me." This is the difference between being in the same room and being present. One is iconography, and this presence is not an accident, it's a choice, it is cultivated, and it is often born from abstaining, not from people, but from the constant static of distraction. The compulsive phone checking, the need to fill every silence, the urge to always be performing. True presence grows in the internal space we create when we abstain from mental and emotional noise. In martial arts, you learn to root your stance and regulate your breath before you ever throw a punch. Why? Because your breath is your anchor. A shallow breath means a scattered mind. A deep, steady breath means a centered mind. This isn't just for fighting, it's for loving. Every difficult conversation is a test of your breath. Every moment of tension is a choice to stay centered or to get swept away. Try this the next time you feel a reactive emotion rising. Before you speak, just pause, take one deep, slow breath, feel it in your belly, then ask yourself, is what I'm about to say going to build a bridge or a wall? That single breath is often the space between wounding someone and understanding them. Modern science shows that conscious breathing directly engages the vagus nerve, the superhighway of your body's calming system. It doesn't just lower your heart rate, it physically enhances your capacity for empathy. When you are calm, you can hear what's not being said. You can sense the fear beneath the anger. You respond from wisdom, not from your wound. Presence also has a posture. Your body tells a story your words can't hide. When you stand tall, shoulders back, chest open, you communicate a quiet confidence and safety. This isn't about arrogance. It's about being grounded. It's a message to your own nervous system first, and to everyone else second. I am here. Others feel that, especially those who are hurting. They know, on a primal level, if you are a safe harbor. A teacher of mine once said, "How you sit in your chair is how you sit in your life." He meant that your physical state is a perfect mirror of your internal one. If your body is tense, fidgety, and collapsed, your mind is likely in the same state. If your body is grounded and at ease, your mind is clear. Posture and breath are not small details, they are the gateways to presence. And presence is the gateway to everything that matters. Now let's explore the next layer of this work, building your inner strength through abstinence. Just like lifting weights builds muscle, resisting unhealthy impulses builds your emotional core. Every time you choose not to send that angry text, not to seek comfort in a habit you know hurts you, not to chase validation you don't really need, you are doing a rep for your soul. And this strength, while invisible, is what holds you steady when life storms hit. There is a great misunderstanding that emotional freedom means acting on every feeling. That is not freedom, it is slavery to your emotions. True emotional freedom is the ability to feel anything, rage, grief, jealousy, and to choose a wise response. This is where abstinence becomes the training ground for your heart. A woman I coached was devastated after a sudden breakup. Her first impulse was a storm's, to demand answers, to plead, to expose him online, but she had been practicing meditation. She remembered the instruction, don't just do something, sit there. So she did. She didn't act. She allowed the storm to rage inside her. She wrote it all down, she cried. She sat with the raw pain. After a couple of days, the frantic urge to react subsided. What was left was a quiet, deep sadness, but also a new feeling, self-respect. She saw that her pain was valid, but it didn't have to define her actions. That choice, to feel the fire without throwing it, is what builds inner strength. In relationships, this strength is everything, because love without self-discipline is just attachment, and unchecked attachment leads to dependency. But when you've trained your emotional core through the practice of pausing, of choosing, you don't bring neediness to a relationship, you bring a powerful offering. That offering says, I choose you, not because I am empty, but because I am full and I want to share this life with you. This is the foundation of a truly conscious partnership. But this training is not easy. It means choosing to sit with discomfort rather than running for a distraction. It's the hard work of not replaying old stories, not indulging in self-pity, not seeking a quick fix. In these moments, the practice is simple but not easy. Pause, breathe, and witness. A warrior trains for the battle in times of peace. We must train our hearts in moments of quiet, so we are ready for the emotional battles of life. This training physically rewires your brain. When you resist an impulsive emotional reaction, you strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO. This gives you more executive control over the primitive, reactive parts of your brain. Over time, it becomes your default state. You are no longer a victim of your moods, you are the calm witness of them. Abstinence accelerates this process. Every time you consciously choose not to indulge a destructive emotion, you are carving a new neural pathway. You are teaching your nervous system that discomfort is survivable, that intense feelings don't require immediate action. That sacred pause is where your wisdom is born. A wise monk once said, when you feel anger rising like a fire, do not try to put it out, and do not throw it at another. Instead, let it burn inward. Let it become the fuel for your clarity. Then speak from the warm embers, not the raging flame. This is not suppression. This is emotional alchemy. You don't ignore the feeling. You use its energy to refine your own consciousness. Abstinence, then, is not about being cold, it is about containment. It is the commitment to become a vessel strong enough to hold life's intensity without shattering or spilling it onto those you love. This capacity is what makes a person truly reliable in love, not just exciting but safe, not just passionate but steadfast. To reach this place is not to give up on love or connection, it is to finally be ready for it, to bring to it the greatest gift you can offer, a self that is whole, present, and free. It is to say, I see you, and I have the strength to stand by you and by myself with patience, presence, and a love that endures. And so we move forward with a deeper breath, a taller spine, and a longer pause, not because we are afraid of life, but because we revere it, because we know that the quality of the relationship we have with ourselves is the blueprint for all others. When we hear the word abstinence, the mind often defaults to what is being given up, but for the person on the path of self-knowledge, abstinence is not about loss. It is about space, and space is not nothingness, it is pure potential. It is the sacred pause between a trigger and a choice, between a craving and an action, between who you have been and who you are becoming. When we speak of finding relational clarity through abstinence, we are not advocating for a life without relationships. We are advocating for a life where we see them, and ourselves, with a clean lens, free from the distortion of our own unhealed wounds and unmet needs. In a culture addicted to noise, to constant validation, to instant intimacy, choosing abstinence is a radical act of self-purification. It cleans the mirror in which we see ourselves. What are you truly looking for in another person? A partner, or a distraction from your own unease? A soul to walk with, or a savior to rescue you? Without the quiet that abstinence provides, you will never hear the real answer. There is a profound wisdom found in being alone, but it's not enough to just be alone. You must be consciously aware within that solitude. That is where the real work is done. When you quiet the body and abstain from your usual patterns, the search for praise, the need for touch, the performance of being interesting, your soul finally gets the microphone, and its first words might be uncomfortable. It might reveal how much of your desire for another person is actually a desperate flight from yourself. A woman once told me that after a string of painful relationships, she took a vow: 1 year, no dating. Not because she was bitter, but because she was determined to finally meet herself. I needed to know, she said, what my own mind sounded like without another person's voice in it. I needed to learn how to make myself feel safe, instead of outsourcing the job. That year was a crucible. The first few months were a battle with loneliness and old insecurities. But around the halfway mark, a new feeling emerged, a solid, quiet peace. She stopped reaching for her phone to fill every silent moment. She started dressing for herself. She stopped contorting her personality to be more appealing. She became crystal clear, not just about what she wanted in a partner, but about the partner she was committed to being. This is the clarity that is born from abstinence. It is not an intellectual clarity from overthinking. It is an embodied clarity that comes from simply being. Eastern philosophy often compares the mind to a lake. When it is agitated by the winds of desire and fear, the water is murky. You cannot see the bottom. Only when the lake becomes perfectly still can you see into its depths. Our relationships are the same. If you enter them from a place of inner chaos, you will never see the other person clearly. You will only see a reflection of your own hopes and fears. Clarity through abstinence helps you distinguish perception from projection. You stop looking for someone to complete you. You start looking for someone you can meet soul to soul without the masks. This clarity is also physiological. A nervous system that is constantly bombarded with stimulation, emotional, digital, sexual, loses its sensitivity. It becomes numb, like a palate exhausted by overly processed food. Your emotional body becomes confused. It can no longer tell the difference between true connection and the familiar rush of an addictive pattern. Abstinence is the detox. It recalibrates your internal sensors. It gives you back the ability to feel with your whole body. Have you ever done a sugar fast? After a week, even a simple apple tastes incredibly sweet and vibrant. The same is true for an emotional fast. When you abstain from the junk food of performative romance, empty flattery, and shallow connections, a single moment of genuine eye contact can feel deeply nourishing. A shared laugh can feel sacred. But we have to be willing to face the withdrawal. For most of us, abstinence reveals just how much of our life is structured around avoiding ourselves. In the silence, the old ghosts come out to play: the fear of being unlovable, of being forgotten, of being left behind. These fears are not your enemies. They are orphaned parts of you asking to be seen and integrated. If you are always running into the arms of another to quiet them, you will never learn which wounds are truly yours to heal. A man shared with me how his lifelong pattern of serial monogamy finally broke during a 6-month period of celibacy. I realized, he said, that I had never once asked myself what I truly valued in a partner beyond physical attraction. I was so terrified of being alone that I mistook intensity for intimacy and someone's presence for my own self-worth. When he eventually started dating again, he was a different man. He was slower. He was more curious. He listened not just to what was said, but to the energy behind the words. And most importantly, he listened to the compass inside himself. Abstinence had given him something far more valuable than self-control. It had given him discernment, and discernment is the bedrock of wisdom in love. Without it, we are ships without rudders, tossed about by the winds of impulse and fantasy. With it, we navigate with intention, honoring both ourselves and others. Now consider this truth: the partners you attract are a direct mirror of the energy you project. If your energy is scattered, anxious, and needy, you will attract people who resonate with that frequency. But when your energy becomes calm, centered, and self-sourced, you begin to attract a different kind of person altogether. Abstinence is the training ground for cultivating that sovereign energy. It teaches you to be the source of your own well-being, so that love from another becomes a beautiful addition, not a desperate necessity. In Chinese medicine, there is the concept of Jing, our deep foundational life force. It is said that this essence is drained by excess and indulgence, but it is restored and preserved through stillness, breath, and conscious restraint. A person with strong Jing has a natural magnetism. They don't need to chase attention. Their grounded presence attracts it. In a relationship, this translates to an unshakable sense of safety. People feel it. They might not know why they feel so calm around you, but it's because you are no longer leaking your life force. You are a container for your own power. The next evolution on this path of abstinence and self-mastery is the cultivation of sacred intention. This is moving beyond just seeing clearly to choosing consciously. It is the awareness of not just what you are doing in a relationship, but why. Most people stumble into relationships guided by a cocktail of hormones, loneliness, and social conditioning. They form attachments without ever considering the energetic contract they are signing. But sacred intention changes everything. It elevates connection to a conscious art form. Every shared moment becomes a deliberate choice. Not just to feel good, but to exchange energy honorably. Not just to be understood, but to understand. Not just to receive, but to give from a full cup. To grasp this, you first need the stillness of abstinence. Because in that quiet space, you begin to ask the real questions. Is this attraction coming from a place of truth, or is it a familiar trauma bond? Am I drawn to this person because they reflect my soul's purpose, or because they temporarily soothe an old ache? Sacred intention is about knowing your direction. It's asking, where is this connection taking us? Is it making me more of who I truly am, or less? It's not about predicting the future, but about ensuring every step is aligned with your integrity. If a connection helps both people become more authentic and alive, it is sacred. If it requires you to betray yourself, it is a lesson, not a destination. Rumi famously wrote, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." Sacred intention honors this. It understands that not every spark is a fire to be stoked. Some attractions are simply teachers, meant to illuminate a part of yourself and then move on. I remember a woman who met a man at a workshop. The connection was electric, the conversations were deep, the chemistry undeniable. But years of inner work, of intentional abstinence and boundary setting, had made her highly sensitive to incongruence. So she paused, she watched, and she noticed that while his words were beautiful, his actions were inconsistent. He would be intensely present one day and emotionally absent the next. The old version of her would have clung to the chemistry, hoping it would be enough. But the new version of her, guided by sacred intention, chose to honor herself more. She acknowledged the connection, thanked it for the lesson, and gracefully stepped back. This is the power that abstinence cultivates. It gives you an internal compass so sharp that you no longer sacrifice your deep, inner peace for a fleeting moment of pleasure. It teaches you that the standard you hold for yourself is the standard you will attract. Cultivating sacred intention also means being mindful of the small rituals of connection. How you listen, how you touch, how you show up when things are hard. The highest form of intimacy is a spiritual practice. It's not something you get, it's something you bring. And bringing it requires discipline. There's an old Zen teaching about how to approach any interaction with attention, respect, and emptiness. Attention to see the person as they are right now, respect to honor their sovereign soul, and emptiness to let go of your own stories and meet them fresh. What would our relationships be if we approached them this way? Abstinence is the practice that prepares us for this. It clears out the energetic dust of past hurts, past lovers, past selves. It creates a clean slate, and onto that slate your intention can flow, clear, powerful, and true. The soul does not operate on a human timeline. It waits for the water to be still, and when it speaks, it offers not a command but a profound clarity. This clarity is what turns abstinence from an act of denial into an act of devotion. It's no longer about what you're giving up, but what you're making yourself ready for. To walk this path is not to become cold, it is to become warm but contained, not closed off but discerning, not hard but whole. In this way, abstinence becomes the ultimate act of love, for yourself first, and then for others. It is a sacred promise: I will no longer abandon myself. I will no longer dilute my soul to be palatable. I will not settle for anything less than what honors the truth of who I am. And from that unwavering ground, a love can be born that doesn't just flicker but endures. When the body becomes quiet, the soul speaks, but it does not shout, it resonates. This journey through abstinence was never about saying no to the world. It was about learning to hear your own deepest yes, the yes to remembering who you are when the audience is gone, the yes to what you truly value when the distractions are silenced, the yes to the profound truth that your wholeness is not found in another person, but in the stillness and presence you cultivate within. In the quiet forged by abstinence, you finally hear what the world's noise tries to make you forget: that being alone is not the same as being empty. That love is not a prize to be won, but a state of being to embody. That true intimacy is not measured by physical proximity, but by the resonance between two honest souls. You have now learned that every choice to abstain, be it from a person, an emotion, or a digital distraction, is not a subtraction but a powerful return, a return to your own inner authority, a return to sacred purpose, a return to the innate wisdom of your own body, no longer driven by frantic urges, but tuned to the frequency of peace. You now understand that a relationship doesn't start when you meet someone. It starts long before, in the inner space you prepare, in the wounds you courageously tend, and in the sovereign energy you learn to hold. Conscious abstinence is how we build a worthy temple for a sacred connection. As the masters have always taught, self-mastery is not about force. It is about harmony, the harmony between body, breath, heart, and spirit. In abstinence, you are not shrinking, you are expanding, becoming more grounded, more present, and more luminous. So when you next choose silence, choose it not from a place of fear, but from a place of reverence. Reverence for your own journey, for your precious energy, and for the caliber of love you are finally making yourself ready to receive. Let that quiet sharpen your vision. Let it fortify your heart. Let it prepare you not to hide from the world, but to walk into it with the quiet strength of someone who needs nothing from it, and therefore has everything to give. This is the ultimate truth of abstinence. It is not the denial of desire, it is the sanctification of it. It is desire made whole, made conscious, made sacred, and from that hallowed ground, all true things can finally grow.